What's going on, guys? Vic VP back with episode 2 of the Jamma board based Bartop, and well, I'm pretty happy to say that we're done. Off the bat, you're gonna see my shirt might change because I did kind of do this in 2 days. So I'm gonna first start out with the headache so far that I was dealing with, and now I'm gonna bring you now into today, which is we are done with this Bartop. We're done with the headaches. I'm gonna go over the headaches that I dealt with. Before anything, we gotta shoot a promo video and we gotta see this thing in the dark. What's going on, guys? Vic VP back with another video, and today we are still working on the Jamma board based bar top, and we got some lighting in it. Now, as far as a couple of things that I do as far as with my systems, I always like to put a little bit of an LED marquee. So we are running a white LED strip as the marquee. This is kind of real quick, a dry fit. It works. And we're also going to be adding a white LED strip to the bottom of this. I always like to add the LED strips. It adds a little touch to it, and they look good. So far right now, we do also have the bezel. I made a little bit of a paper bezel. It's a cheap way to do it. It works, but it does actually look pretty good. I'm pretty surprised. Let me take you closer and you can check out the bezel. So as you can see, we do no longer have the TV. You don't really see the frame of the TV. You see a little bit of it. But the big thing is that you don't see the 2-inch gap. So again, this came out to about 2.5 inches and 2.5 inch gap on that. There's a little gap up here. I'm not gonna really bother with it. We're gonna leave that just like that. So I got the Insignia TV. You can't see the logo anymore. So far, so good. This is an LED strip. I buy the 16-foot rolls. I usually buy 16-foot rolls, and so far I've only used maybe about, I don't know, 3 feet of it. And this is working off of the 5 volts off of the back of the arcade actual panel. So I do have my wiring here. I do put a piece of cardboard to hold it. My power, we're gonna make it all nice and clean. Again, the hard thing is when I show you guys this stuff, it looks sloppy, like the wiring is like a mess. But before we give it to a customer, when it's final touches, the last thing is keeping the wires taut and making the wires look good. That's the last thing. First deal with the stress of making these things and wiring it, and then you make the beauty of it later on. Like right now, basically the arcade is wired up except for the joysticks. I didn't do that yet. But you know, now we're getting into the whole like marquees and the logos and all that. I paper print these. These are literally out of my printer, so people got to spend extra money for the vinyl. When it does come time to put like the plexiglass, it's very difficult, especially when you're doing a paper way like I did. You could actually see some of the paper folds. Like here, you could definitely see the paper folded here. But I mean, you have to really be looking at it. I do try to fix it. You have to go behind the cabinet to fix it. But if you look very carefully, you can see the gap between 2 pieces of paper. Again, it's not that drastic, but I'm really liking how this looks right now. Okay, guys, so good news so far. As far as cosmetically, this is 99% done. The last thing we're doing are the T-moldings. The marquee is up. We got the logo, the game case. I even got a little Powered by Pandora's Box logo. It says Pandora's Box 5, it's a 5S, but I don't give a damn. And we also have the LED strip at the bottom. You do need soldering. If you know your soldering and you know your LED work, this is actually using the 5 volts off of the arcade power supply for the LEDs. So anytime you get 5 volts, that will power LEDs. Even when we do the Raspberry Pi build, which I'll show you, you could even use the USB power, which is 5 volts. This right now, minus the arcade buttons being lit, we're almost done. We just got to do the joysticks and the T-molding, and this is ready for purchase. Again, you know, the paper marquee, the paper, you know, bezel, it doesn't look that bad. But so far I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty cool. I do like the fact that it is literally just a plug. I don't press anything, the LEDs turn on. All you gotta do is plug it in. TV's gonna boot on its own. That's why you have to be careful when you buy your TVs. I always like my TVs. The difference between a TV and a monitor is, from what I understood, is that a TV has the speakers, monitors don't have speakers. So this, yes, although we are having a 19-inch, TV running, that's it. You have to be careful when you buy TVs. I know for a fact that some TVs, when you do plug it in, they don't automatically boot up. But this one does. It's an Insignia 19-inch TV, and this is set. This is what a customer wants. Every customer I get, they just want something. You gotta plug it in. Vic, I got a 5-year-old, they're just gonna plug it in. Got it. This is it. We are gonna do the red T-molding. I have a little bit of T-molding left for my old builds. But I think a red and a white combination, this is gonna be good. This is it. We are almost done, although minus the headache with the whole TV and the modifications. We are missing the 4 buttons here. But I do have extra arcade buttons. They're just gonna be blanks. They just won't work. But as of right now, the last thing is to beautify the wires. But this is looking good so far. Pretty happy. Pretty good so far. Now somebody might ask, hey Vic, how much are you gonna sell this for? I mean, I sell this on Craigslist and Letgo is $650. Again, I put $500 and you spend $500, I only make 150 bucks. But as of right now, this is like me going in and out of my regular job into this. I mean, this so far is about a day, at least a 24-hour project. From wiring the buttons to setting it up to testing it. Now the LED work took me about 2 hours to do because you got to know your LEDs. So, for me to make 150 bucks, I don't think anybody should complain, especially for what you're gonna get. Now again, keep in mind though, this is a 650 model. So this is with the Pandora's box, the arcade Jamma. Whereas if we're doing the Hyper Pi, I'm gonna break down the cost of that. It's a little bit more, only because of the Raspberry Pi and the encoders, but other than that, it's almost the same, but it's a little bit more expensive when you do a Hyper Pi. And now I'm gonna bring you now into today, which is we are done with this bar top. We're done with the headaches. I'm gonna go over the headaches that I dealt with, but real quick, let's take a closer look at the finished product. So now again, we are running the Game Room Solutions Deluxe. As you can see now, we do have the buttons on top, so this is the official deluxe version cabinet. We are running a 19-inch LED TV on this one. Although it could fit a 22-inch monitor, we went with a 19-inch LED TV, which I'll explain later on why. We have LED marquee on top, and we also even added the LED on the bottom. To finish off the white look, we went with the red T-molding all around to the bottom, even to the front of the face of it. The red T-molding is a pretty good addition. Kind of looks like that Supreme style clothing brand. So we might label this as a Supreme Edition bar top. So far so good. We had the Pandora's Box 5S running on this. So pretty happy. I did have a couple of hiccups, but for the end result, it's not too bad. Now again, off the bat, this is a big eye catcher. I do like the white cabinet. I'm gonna take you closer as far as some of the imperfections on the MDF board, which I've noticed, but again, just like my last video, MDF scratches, MDF chips, you can't do anything about it unless you put a vinyl sticker over it. Again, I'm gonna take you closer. We're gonna look at the plexi. Sometimes now when you add the T-molding, the plexiglass doesn't sit firmly on the control panel. It does lift up a little bit. Unfortunately, with that, it kind of chipped the corner of my MDF board on the control panel, which again, I'll take a closer look into it. Before anything, we gotta shoot a promo video, and we gotta see this thing in the dark. I wish I could do kind of like a snap of the fingers when I'm working alone, but right now, in the dark, LED buttons, and again, I'm gonna describe to you some of the hiccups that we've had, but you might notice one big hiccup, which are the joysticks. They claim to be LED joysticks. Again, I've spoken to the eBay guy. He's refunding me my money. This right now we'll have to do, but the only that's not LED is the joysticks. Again, the marquee, very bright, super bright white LED. It's literally a small strip I put on this, and even the bottom. That is a perfect kicker. I love it. This is a great bar top. So right now I turn off half of the shop lights. I'm gonna go behind the camera. I'm gonna spin the microphone, and I'm gonna describe everything that you see here, along with the hiccups and what we've learned from the process. I'm also gonna do a kind of a price breakdown at the end of this. Okay guys, so now we're behind the camera. We're gonna take a closer look at the bar top cabinet right now. Again, this is a white deluxe Game Room Solutions bar top. We finished it off with the red T-molding, LED buttons with the red and the blue. Also added the LED marquee, number one, the LED strip to the marquee, and the LED strip at the base. It looks great bouncing off the table. Imagine that on like a kitchen counter or in your man cave. it looks good. Let's start with the basics. T-molding. T-molding is always great. It's a great addition. Before, if you see the pictures I took before and the video, it kind of looks lame without T-molding. So the T-molding you get, I've got that off of eBay. 20 foot is enough. You do have a lot of extra, but I bought a big roll. So red T-molding off the bat. The marquee, again, from the other cabinet is bigger. I did use paper on this. So this is an 8.5 by 14 logo right here. And then, I don't know, whatever it is, 2 inches, 3 inches on the sides. As far as the buttons, again, the big hiccup was me getting buttons from another person that I don't normally deal with. Red buttons, blue buttons. They only gave us 6, 12, 13, 14, 16 buttons. So I do have the 4 here missing. I will be adding some, you know, random buttons. I kind of have like the old hat buttons from an old arcade. I'll put that. But the one big downside right now is that the joystick is not LED. It looks like it's supposed to be. I actually even went to the extent of opening this and opening up the joystick, and there is no power at all when you look at the bottom of the joystick. There's no power. There's nothing there at all. Even looking at the top of the ball, there's no LED. So again, it is a very big, tedious argument that we are doing with the company. It sounds like it's a company from the USA, but they get their stuff from China. So I'm talking to a middleman. The additions that I did, you don't really get this, but you do have the coin and the player 1 button. Game Room Solutions does supply the sticker for that, so I made a couple of copies and it worked. Let's talk real quick, only because I opened it. Let's talk about the plexiglass on this. It happened with the other Bartop, and again, it happened with this one. Once I added the T-molding, unless it's hot in here, I don't know, but for some reason, you could kind of see my corner chip. I'm going to lift this up, and you could see right there that the plexi kind of catches. I'm not going to push it up all the way, but the plexiglass catches on the side of the frame. Sure enough, it chipped off the under of this. None you could really do. You know, really the people that buy this from me, they don't really play around with the control panel. So as you can see, I had to push it down, and then you lift up. Real quick, some people asked me, power wire going to the LED strip on the bottom. This actually was connected to the arcade power supply, so that works. Again, the person I bought the buttons from did not supply me the red and black wire for the LED. So that was another mistake that I had to do. So I spent 16 bucks on the power wire for the LED and the Jamma board harness, the wire harness. I spent another, I believe, 15 to 20 bucks. Again, 19-inch TV. I like my TVs because this one has the speakers built into it. You know, you have the TV remote to adjust the volume, but this has the speakers built into it. The one downside, again, with using a 19-inch TV is that you do have the gaps here. Again, this is about a 2.5. It's a, I think it was, no, 17 inches wide. It's a 20.5-inch gap, so you do have about 2.5 inches. So I believe I did this as like 1.5 inches. I don't know. It's pretty big. I personally see it, but I don't think a customer is really going to notice it too much. But again, as far as the comparison between the other cabinet, which I think is $180 compared to this $220, I think I would rather do the $180 one, only because I know for a fact the TV could fit. Again, the one big thing, one big killer is the LEDs. There's no LEDs to the joysticks, and no matter what, a red joystick always turns pink. Even with the LED light on, it turns pink. Again, we are running the Pandora's Box 5S on this, the marquee. It looks good. And again, in the darkness, it looks amazing. I'm pretty sure when I just did the selfie thing, it didn't really auto contrast, but this so far looks good. Unfortunately, whenever you do use a Jamma harness, the wiring is there's so much wiring because it really is meant for an arcade cabinet, so they give you a lot of long wires. This is much easier to just leave it like this than to cut it and recrimp everything. Again, with the T-molding, we added the T-molding right on the edge of the cabinet of the controller. Kind of pinches in. Again, using a paper bezel is not really the right way to go. You know, I will retape it, but you know, for a customer that doesn't want to pay for the bezel, paper is not a bad thing. Let's turn the cabinet around and we're going to take a look at the back. Off the bat, looking at the back of this, I did add a T-molding here. I had a T-molding on this part, but once I added the T-molding, I couldn't close the door. The door wouldn't catch on to the hinge, so I just removed the T-molding. Right here, we put a couple of staples in so the power wire doesn't move. We Velcroed down the remote. This way, again, if somebody wants to use the volume, they could use that. Did a couple of staples to keep the wires neat, the HDMIs neat. If you guys remember, for some reason this specific board needs the computer input. I just cut it. I'm gonna save the other one just in case I do another Jamma build. And again, with the headache of we took apart the whole TV just to make this work. Stapled in the HDMI wire so nothing could really pull it out. Right here's my wire going to the LED marquee. No speakers on this build. And for me to hold the LEDs, we put a piece of cardboard. There is a piece of cardboard here holding up the LEDs. Very simple hack, I guess you could call it. But all in all, this is the cleanest you'll probably see with a Jamma board based system. Okay guys, so we're gonna talk about the positive and negatives from my experience with this build. But real quick, let's just go over the pricing and what we pay for each thing with the headaches. So I do look at my eBay listing. T-molding was 20 bucks. The arcade power supply, 20 bucks. The buttons, this again, too good to be true. I paid 40 bucks for the buttons. The downside to that, there was no LED power daisy chain, and the LED joysticks don't light up, and I'm also missing 4 buttons, but I can't really blame them for that. So again, the buttons came out to 40 bucks. The Jamma board, the Pandora's Box 5S, came out to 60 bucks. The Jamma wire harness came out to 15 bucks. The daisy chain, which I had to spend extra on, was 16 bucks. And the T-molding was 20 bucks. Also, the cabinet was at 220, and the TV that we paid for was 85. This again is your basics. And if we calculate that, that comes out to 476 bucks. So, figure that, right? Like I said in the first episode, it's gonna cost you about 500 bucks because we didn't take into consideration the extension cord, the HDMI wire. I mean, whatever, 10 bucks for HDMI. And if you want to do the whole LED kind of setup, I mean, an LED strip, a white one, you don't need anything crazy. A regular LED strip, a 16-foot roll shouldn't cost you more than like 10 bucks from eBay. So again, I'm gonna call it at 500 bucks, even with the headaches. So even with like the hiccups, with missing the wiring and all that, we're still in my comfortable range of 500 bucks. So in total, it cost me 500 bucks to put it together. Me doing this as a side job, I mean, maybe it took, let's just call it at 8 hours, 8 total hours to build it, wire it, take apart the TV, put the buttons in, wire the buttons, wire the LEDs. But for me, I did take a 3-day span to kind of build it. But all in all, it's not that bad to build a Jamma board based bar top. Now again, as far as what I was talking about with the buttons, I'd rather spend, let's say, 80 bucks. You could contact, I'd rather spend the $80 from Game Room Solutions, where they're gonna give you the 20 buttons, they're gonna give you the LED wiring and everything you need, minus the Jamma board harness. So the only little additions missing on this bar top is really the speaker and the amp. Speakers and amp, let's just say combined, shouldn't cost you more than like 30 bucks. Little 4-inch speakers and the amp shouldn't cost you more than that. So that's the only real addition to it. The T-molding is a must. If you do want to go into the vinyl of it and the vinyl stickers, then you're going to go into the more of it, which again, you're going to get a couple of the scuff marks like you saw on the control panel. I mean, some people notice it, some people don't. But luckily, again, spend 500 bucks, I make 650, meaning I sell it for 650. So 150 bucks for 8 hours of work is not that drastic. It's not that bad. So I don't mind that. I'll do that all day. We're gonna do another bar top, but this one we're gonna do a HyperPie setup with Game Room Solutions buttons and all that. Again, not too bad. My only suggestion, this is me personally, I wouldn't be getting the deluxe cabinet. Not that it's a bad cabinet, it's just me. I deal with more of the TVs. I don't put monitors in because I don't like to add the speaker cost. So to me, I do like the TV, and there's no 22-inch TV. You need a 24-inch TV. So unless Game Room Solutions makes it a little bit bigger, I'll be going back to the regular 180 cabinet. With that though, you gotta remember that your control panel is a little bit smaller now. It will be short a couple inches, but instead of the coin and the player 1 start and player 2 start, we put it here. So again, right now what you see, I spent 500 bucks, and even now you got the new company called Arcade 1-Up. I don't knock anyone, but spend another 200 bucks. You get 1,299 games in this compared to their 4. It's a no-brainer, guys. I don't know why people buy that thing. Not to knock it, but a 3/4 inch scale arcade. Not to mention the whole problems with the rubbing off. But now we're jumping. I'm not bad mouthing any company, but spend the extra 200 bucks and get your own arcade. This is going to conclude the Jamma board based system, but again, we're going to do next week a HyperPie setup.